hated the movie so much. Oh, I'm reading this book thinking, wow, could I go without bananas? Let me find it. That's not gonna work. No. It's so crazy to me. I mean, there's probably a better word to use than crazy. It's just stream of consciousness. Hey everybody, welcome to the Pine Cottage. My name is Nicole, and today we are talking about all the books that I read during the month of March. It is a rainy, gloomy day today. I have people home. Our basement is being renovated, so there is construction happening, and so I am up in my bedroom trying to get away from the noise so that I could record this video for you guys today. I hope that you are having a great start to April. I hope that you've had some reading time and some knitting time if you're a knitter. I have spent a lot of time outside recently, working in the garden and in the yard and trying to get things cleaned up before everything starts to grow and be beautiful and warm and sunny. And I just haven't wanted to be indoors. So I haven't spent a whole lot of time reading. I did read 6 books in the month of March, and 2 of those were audiobooks so that I could do other things while I was reading. Although I don't tend to like audiobooks very much. Let's get started. The first book that I want to talk about is Take My Hand by Dolan Perkins Valdez, and this was our book club book for the month of March. So I talk extensively about this book in our book club video. I will put it up in the cards here. So if this is something that you are interested in reading, please feel free to watch that video, and it was a wonderful, wonderful book. I don't think that I'm gonna give books a 5-star rating anymore. I feel like it's not fair. A lot of the star ratings are based on my opinions, and who am I? I'm not like a professional reader, you know, whatever, like it's my opinion, right? I think from now on, I'm just gonna say either I would recommend this book to a friend or I would not recommend this book to a friend, and here's why, instead of giving a 5-star rating. I just find it difficult to give a rating. I don't know, some books, it's always like fluid, it's a range, it depends on each book, it depends on a lot of things, it depends on your life experience, it depends on what kind of books you like to read, it depends on the writing styles that you enjoy. So it's really very objective, and I don't feel like it's a fair way to assess a book. So I think I'm just gonna stick with yes, I would recommend it, or no, I would not recommend it. So anyway, back to Take My Hand. I definitely would recommend this book. It is a historical fiction novel. It is about a nurse who is taking care of an impoverished family. This does take place in the 70s. It talks a lot about racism. It talks about socioeconomic status, class, education. It talks about women's rights, or, you know, there's so many things wrapped up into this book, and this author does it very beautifully. She's not harsh about it. She's not super opinionated one way or the other. She doesn't really hit you over the head with her beliefs. She just tells the story, and she lets the characters kind of shine and show their emotions and their beliefs without inserting herself in there. Does that make sense? I don't know. It just was really well done, and I would recommend it if you like historical fiction. If you are someone who enjoys reading about historical fiction as it relates to women, as it relates to race, as it relates to family, reproduction, all of these things are big themes in this book, and it just was done really well. So anyway, I talk about it more in that other video. So that is the first book that I wanted to talk about. The first audiobook that I want to talk about is Counting the Cost by Jill Duggar, or Jill Dillard. This was one that I didn't know if I was going to read because, as I've mentioned before, I'm not huge on like celebrity memoirs. However, when the TV show on TLC first came out with whatever it was, like having all the babies and the big family. And I watched that show regularly because I was so amazed at their faith and the way that they lived their faith. And I was so curious about how they were able to parent all of these children, and they were also well mannered, and they all had good work ethics, and they just seemed like a really great family. Now, I know that everybody has issues behind closed doors, and there were some things that just seemed kind of off to me about some of the comments like the dad would make about, sex and being intimate with his wife, and it just seemed kind of, I don't know, something was off. Of course, we all know the scandal that happened with the brother that came out later. I always felt for the girls because it was very awkward to watch when Jill and her sister went on, they were being interviewed after the whole scandal came out about their brother Josh. And they went on national television and were interviewed about them being abused by him. And I remember watching it and just crying because I just thought, who forced those girls to get on national television and talk about that? Number one. And number two, who fed them those lines? Who made them think that they couldn't be honest about their feelings? Who made them think that it was okay to say that they were okay and that they've moved on? And then the more you found out about how they handled the situation with their son, it just made me sick to my stomach. I do not do well with stories about sexual abuse. It's personal. It's horrendous. It affects you for the rest of your life. And these are children. And the parents are supposed to be the ones to protect. Now, I'm not placing judgment. Again, this is a TV show. I wasn't there. But reading her book, she let you in on some things. And she finally is honest about her life. And she does talk about the things that were handled probably not correctly. She also still loves her parents very much, and she still has a lot of respect for especially her mother. And I think that it's beautiful that she is able to maintain her relationship with them and still be honest about the mistakes that were made. And she's not a writer, she's just telling her story. And I listened to the audiobook, and she actually narrates the audiobook. So it's like she's just sitting there talking to you. And, it's been hard. She didn't ask to be a public figure on television. Her father was asked to be on television. So this just kind of fell into her lap, and it wasn't necessarily something that she wanted or asked for. And now she's had to deal with the repercussions of celebrity and scandal, and also growing up in front of the whole world and getting married and now being a mother and having a family of her own. It's just it speaks so much to America, right? Like, and what we do to people in this country, especially when it comes to media. And it was just sad. It was a sad situation. And I'm glad that I could purchase the book to support her. And I hope that, their relationships are mended. I hope that she has a happier life moving forward. It seems like she's doing all the healthy things that she could do, going through therapy. And her husband seems like such a rock for her. So I'm really happy for her now. And I think that's another reason, I don't want to give ratings, because how am I going to rate this girl's life? That's not right. So I would rather just say, if you were someone who watched that show, I would read it just to give her support and to understand that it was more than a show. This was their life, and these are people, and these were children. They now have to come through the other side of this. I generally would not pick something up like that unless it was, like I said, I had watched it in the past. So that's why I did. The next book I want to talk about is a nonfiction book, and this is Healing ADD, the breakthrough program that allows you to see and heal the 7 types of ADD. This is by Daniel G. Amen. I picked this up because I saw a YouTube video. He was giving a talk about how he's a psychologist, and he was saying psychology is the only form of medicine where the physician doesn't actually look at the organ it's treating. It goes purely by symptoms and how you feel, and it's putting band-aids on these symptoms, but it's not actually looking at your brain. They're not taking scans of your brain. And he said that's unfortunate, because when it comes to this and probably a host of other disorders, you can see changes in the brain. So he practices through taking scans of the brain, and he shows images in this book of your brain at different stages and what it looks like, you know, when you have a normal brain and what it looks like when you have a brain that has attention deficit disorder. And he goes on to say that he has worked with people over so many years, and he has found that there are 7 types of attention deficit disorder. Reading through this book, I mean, you can see I have tabbed so many things, but all 4 of the people in my family and also extended family struggle with attention deficit disorder in different ways. Some of us, it has paralyzed us in ways, and others we're able to work around it. No one is medicated currently. That doesn't mean that we won't be in the future. I'm still kind of learning for my children what works for them and what doesn't. But he is an excellent resource because I was able to learn what the deficiencies are in our brains depending on our ADD type and what we can do to supplement those deficiencies. So since reading this book, I have been trialing some supplements, and they're working. They're working for me, they're working for my son, they're working for my daughter, and right now we are not having to medicate. That to me is worth it all the way. I know I'm kind of behind when it comes to this. I know it's a pretty popular topic among educators, among homeschool moms and such, but I just never had to medicate for mine. I learned tools to help work through it. Like I talk about all the time, minimalism has helped me. I make lists, I write things down, I check things off my list. I have moments throughout the month where I'm pretty all over the place and I can't focus and I don't want to write the list, and I just the house falls apart. Having less to have to manage, that helps me. Not overscheduling my life. I cannot have more than one. Hold on. I've tried to teach those same things to my daughter, and sometimes she needs a little bit more help. She has a slightly different type, I've learned, of ADD than me, but she is able to kind of adapt when it comes to academics. She doesn't have an issue there. It's more with her emotions that she struggles. My son, everything's compounded, which it's so interesting to me, genetics, because he's very much like my brother was growing up, and maybe my brother was dyslexic, who knows? But he has dyslexia on top of the ADD. He has dyscalculia, dysgraphia. He has these different things that make it even more difficult for him. So the supplements really seem to be helping him. And time will tell if we have to move forward to medication or not. I know it's a hot topic. Don't really want to discuss it here. But I am definitely someone who likes to treat things naturally. I think it's really important to know how your body works. I'm not saying that there aren't instances where pharmaceuticals are necessary. Absolutely. Everybody is unique. But I prefer to keep things as natural as possible. However, I'm not going to suffer or allow my children to suffer, especially when it comes to their education, if there's something that can help. So we are in the process of finding what's going to be the best for us. This book was very helpful and kind of guiding me to next steps, because I really was at a loss because I never had to do anything. I just had to change my mindset and learn different coping skills. But once I had my systems in place and once I knew my limits, then I'm okay. You know, sometimes I break those boundaries, sometimes I overschedule, which causes me a lot of stress, or sometimes I double book a day. I can't have more than one thing going on in a day. If someone has invited me to dinner, I can't have something else that I have to do right before dinner. I have to have nothing that day, and then dinner, and then nothing the next morning. If I have to work the next morning, I'm probably not going to go out to dinner with you the night before, because it's too stressful for me. I get anxious because I know that I have to work the next day and I have to get to bed on time. It's very regimented, but that's just how my brain works, and that's how my stress level stays low. I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling, but in reading this, it helped me to understand why my brain works this way and why I have to do these things. And it helped me to understand my children and my husband better, and maybe to help them find tools to help them with their brains and navigating their schedules and their lives. I would recommend if this is something you struggle with. The next book that I read was Animal Vegetable Miracle, Our Year of Seasonal Eating by Barbara Kingsolver. This is a memoir that I read, also marked a lot of pages, because she and her family moved from Arizona to West Virginia, where she was born, to live in her husband's family home and live off the land for a year of seasonal eating. So they only ate things that they could grow in their garden, or like the animals that they kept, and nothing else, or from the farmer's market. So local seasonal food. They did not eat bananas because bananas couldn't be grown where they lived. So I'm reading this book thinking, wow, could I go without bananas? Because I eat probably 3 bananas a day. Yes, of course I probably could, but would I enjoy it? I don't know. Definitely was a great read. It taught me a lot about gardening. It taught me a lot about the benefits of seasonal eating, even though I already have been doing some research about that. You know, I live in the suburbs, but my goal is to be at some point as self-sufficient as I can be between what I grow and what I get from the local farmers markets. I don't want to have to buy a whole lot from the grocery stores. So this was definitely an inspiring read, a motivating read. It was one that I probably will read over and over again. And actually someone on Instagram said that they've read this book 3 times, and I totally can see why, because if you're someone who is interested in that kind of thing, homesteading, being self-sufficient, slow living, this is definitely an inspiring story, because this family did it, and the kids got on board, and the daughter had an egg business, and she was selling eggs to the neighbors. And while a lot of those things I can't do where I live, I don't really eat eggs anyway. So, you know, for my family, could we all do it together? I don't know, but can I do it when my kids are grown and out of the house and it's just me and my husband? Yeah, probably. I think it's doable. So anyway, it was it was a good read if you are into that kind of thing, and so then I would recommend it for you. So the 5th book that I read was an audiobook, and it was The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. This is an older thriller, psychological thriller. Also, they made this book into a movie. It's on Netflix. So I was interested in reading the book first, and I'm so glad that I did, because the book was good. It's about this woman with agoraphobia, and there is a twist, and it was all the things that I like. I thought it was a very good book. But when I went to watch the movie on Netflix, it was awful. I hated the movie so much. I hated the way they casted it. I hated the things that it did not hit the same way as reading the book. And I know it usually never does, but I would not waste your time watching the movie. I mean, you probably already had, like I said, this is an older book, but Hated the movie. Don't let that discourage you from reading the book, because the book was very good. Yeah, I don't have anything really to say other than the twists were well done. I feel like I always guess who the bad guy is, and I did, but there's another twist that I totally did not see coming. So the bad guy I guessed, but the other twist I was not ready for. So I know that doesn't tell you anything, but it was good. If you like psychological thrillers, it was a good one. And the last book, the sixth book that I read for the month of March, was Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. I've been seeing Claire Keegan's name on booktubers for quite a while now, and I had never read anything by her. The one that people recommend a lot is Foster, so I actually did buy 2 more of her books, and they have similar cover art, so it's kind of nice because they all kind of go together in a set, and they're all these small sized books, so they'll look nice on the shelf, but that's neither here nor there. This was a very, very good book. It says it was the winner of the Orwell Prize. This book I wish I would have read it before Christmas. This is definitely one that I would recommend you to read before Christmas, like during the month of December. It takes place in a small Irish town, and it is about this man who is a coal merchant, and he has a family, and he's just very hardworking, just a good man who gets up, goes to work every morning in the cold, takes care of his family, and when he's delivering coal, he sees something that sends up a red flag, and he can't unsee it. And it's just about human nature. It's about, again, I was reading this close to the time that I read Take My Hand, and this is just another, it's kind of another historical fiction theme where we're talking about the abuse of women. And it's the abuse of women, yes, it's societal abuse, but it's also the abuse of women by other women, which it's so crazy to me. I mean, there's probably a better word to use than crazy. It's just, I don't understand how women could treat other women this way. So it's a reflection on the Magdalene laundries that they were set in like convents in the Catholic Church. And I don't know a whole lot about them. I was trying to do some research and some reading on the history of them. But they would take in these women who didn't have families or who were impoverished, or a lot of times prostitutes, that kind of thing. And, they would give them meals and a place to live and, try to reform them. But there was a lot of abuse that went on, and it was under the guise of these laundries. So people would take their laundry to be done there. They would do the wash, and then they'd go pick up their laundry. But these girls were being abused in a lot of these laundries. They, if they had been in a relationship, like an adulterous relationship, or if they had been raped, or if they hadn't been raped, if they had just been impregnated as a teenager or whatever, their babies were taken from them. That's terrible. So it's very sad to know that this happened, and like the history of our world is so barbaric. And I'm not naive to think that things like this aren't still happening. I know that I am privileged. I know that the fact that I feel safe in my home and in my country is a privilege, and I wholeheartedly understand that, and I feel very blessed. It's difficult to read things like this, but I think it's important to read things like this, because if you walk around thinking that everything is fine and everything is perfect and everything is wonderful just because you aren't experiencing it, I'm not experiencing it, you can lose that empathy for other people, and that's not something that I ever want to lose. This safety net that I feel like I have, this life that I feel like I have, can be taken away from me at any time. I don't doubt that. I choose not to live in fear of that, and I choose to live a life where I am grateful. But if history has done anything, it teaches us that human beings are capable of some very awful things, and it happens over and over and over again. It does, in fact, repeat itself. I know that none of us are immune to things like this in our lifetime or the lifetime of our children, so I think it's really important to learn from our mistakes in the past. And this author told this story beautifully. It was a quick read. I read it in a couple hours, and definitely would recommend it. I'm looking forward to reading some more of her books. Sometimes I talk and I just go off on a tangent, and I don't even know if I'm really making any kind of sense or reflecting on my original thought at all. It's just stream of consciousness that ends up somewhere. And, you know, if I ever say anything that is offensive or, you know, just work with me here. You know, I'm working through these things in my brain as I'm speaking to you, and there's nobody here in this room to talk back. So please feel free to talk back to me in the comments. But I want to understand things. I want to do better with things that we've done not so great in the past. I want to teach my children to do better, and I want to always live according to my faith. And we all mess up, right? We all make mistakes. We all do things that we are sorry for, and everybody deserves a little bit of grace. So, having said all that, I'm going to continue to read books that have these uncomfortable themes because I'm trying to learn more about humanity. I'm trying to learn more about where we've been and where we can be. I'm trying to learn more about how to live in this world and be a light. I'm trying to learn more about how to raise children in the same way. And I think it's important. I think literature does that for us. Literature is a gift to us to learn about so many things, but I feel like one important thing is how to be better. And I'm not talking economical progress here. I'm talking human progress. I'm talking about the soul. I'm talking about giving of ourselves. I'm talking about sacrifice. I'm talking about kindness. I'm talking about love. And these themes don't change just because the years continue to go by, which is why I'm very much a fan of classic literature, because these themes have been around for centuries. There's no way that I'm ever going to be able to read every book that was ever written, nor do I want to. But I think that picking and choosing ones that I feel like I can learn from and that are going to improve me and improve my soul are ones worth reading and ones that I want to share with all of you. I do read other books that are very specific to my faith, and I probably will not share those on here. I specifically am an Orthodox Christian. I'm going to try to keep this channel for everyone. I know not everyone who watches this is a Christian. I don't generally talk about religion on here. I'm not going to talk about what I believe or don't believe. I try to keep it very neutral because I want everyone to feel like they can join in the conversation. But if there's ever a question that you have about me or what I think or believe about something and you want to have a conversation, I'm very open to it. I just don't want to do it on this general platform because I know not everyone is here for that. That's all. I don't know how many I'm going to read in April, but I hope that it will be at least 6. I feel like every month I'm going down by one book, but like I said, the weather's getting nice and I'm working in my garden. It's been raining for the past 2 days, so I have been stuck in the house doing a little bit of cleaning, spring cleaning, organizing, getting more things purged out of the house and donated to make some space to breathe here. Hope you guys are doing great, and I will see you next week. Not sure what day, but I will see you here next week for another knitting video, and then the following week we will do a simple living video. Then we will do a final knitting wrap-up video for the end of April. So I hope you are enjoying this new format. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. If you have some book recommendations for the third quarter of our book club, please let me know. You can either email me, you can leave them in a comment below, or you can let me know on Instagram. I will put a picture up here of the 3 books that we are reading for April, May, and June. And so we're looking for July, August, September books. So I'm gonna do a poll on Instagram of some books, and we are gonna choose together what quarter 3 books are going to be. So if that's something you're interested, please let me know what books you would like to see in our book club. And that's all I got. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you next week. Bye.